Hi there, and welcome to the start of another trading week where we're finding out what's in store in this week ahead. I'm joined by David Starkey, Manager FX Options and Senior Market Analyst at Cambridge Global Payments. So David, inflation for the UK is due out this week. The Bank of England says the outlook for British inflation in coming months looked weaker than it previously thought. Will this likely be reflected in data this week?
Yeah, like market consensus, we expect inflation to post flat again in the United Kingdom for the month of September. That gives the Bank of England a lot of flexibility and latitude in terms of its monetary policy. There's a bit of a conflicting picture developing in terms of domestic factors for inflation in the United Kingdom. On the one side, you have really weak oil prices influencing food and then obviously energy. On the other side of that picture, however, growth in wages presents a really strong upside tick to inflation. And as we see the original declines in oil prices from about this time last year start to filter out of the calculation for CPI, combined with the recent uptick in wages growth, we expect that there'll be a strong rebound going into 2016, which is when the Bank of England's more likely to be talking seriously about rate hikes. But until that time, we expect them to remain pretty cool to the notion of a rate hike.
Looking to emerging markets, Peru, Chile, Indonesia and South Korean central banks are to meet this week in regards to monetary policy. Will we likely be seeing any policy changes from these areas? And do you think they have the potential to be the driver behind global recovery?
At this point in time, we expect all those banks to remain on hold. Well, it does seem like it could be quite a close call for Singapore and Korea, both economies being particularly exposed to China. At this point in time, it seems like they'll stay on hold. In Singapore's case, there is growing pressure for them to weaken the Singapore dollar band, which is managed against the U.S. dollar. However, for the moment, the labor market seems particularly tight, and that helps offset the softening inflation and growth outlook. As far as Korea is concerned, being probably one of the most exposed to China, for the moment, it seems like they're going to remain on hold. At their last meeting, it was a unanimous call to leave rates unchanged, and while there was a dovish tone, they don't have the same political pressures and economic revisions that we've seen in the past that have sort of preempted a shift in policy. But at that point, on that note, it could be that at any moment their tone changes, they reduce their growth outlook and inflation outlook, at which point in time we would look for them to loosen monetary policy further.
And there's a couple of releases out for the US economy, including inflation data. What should our viewers be on the lookout for in regards to these releases?
American inflation this month, or for this month, is coming out. Expectations are for a mildly deflationary reading, and given a couple of weeks ago the extremely negative non-farm payroll, that all but eliminates the possibility of an October rate hike. And in reality, it marginalizes the possibility of a rate hike in 2015 at all. It's difficult to argue for tighter monetary policy when the labor sector is not performing and there's deflation in the economy. Also out this week, American consumer sentiment, and in light of China and the Volkswagen scandal going into the key holiday shopping season, negative consumer sentiment could be bad for economic output.
That was David Starkey from Cambridge Global Payments looking ahead at events for this week. Now you can keep up to date with these and more data coming out this week. Just make sure you're tuning back to Dicoscopy TV.